Greetings and felicitations, YouTube. Jarl of the Appian Way here. And, have you frequently seen this sight in your multiplayer battles on Troy? Have you seen your opponents log in with a giant stack of nothing but the epic Chariot Spam? Clearly there's nothing that can be done about all of these Trojan boys in chariots. Not a thing can be done. Troy didn't need walls. All it needed was just 3 walls on 2 wheels dragged by 2 horses. That was all they needed, right? Right? Okay, well, as you can tell what this is going to be about, this is going to be about how to deal with the Chariot Spam. And a friend of mine from from a new Discord that I just hopped in agreed to help me test out a couple of theories, thoughts, and strategies and plans when it comes to facing the Chariot Spam. And this guy, he goes by Death. What a lovely name, Death. Says, well, I bet you cavalry will be great against chariots. And I was like, I don't know. The chariots have anti-large, including like the melee versions, right? They have anti-large damage. So I was like, okay, come face me out here in the mud pit with my my centaurs. I'll take on your chariots with my horsey boys. Let's give it a shot. But I was also figuring I wanted to try out. Somebody had mentioned, hey, how about the Minotaur? Can the Minotaur actually do something with chariots? And I was like, well, that depends. Does the Minotaur just get knocked over a bunch? He counts as a large unit, but and so does, by the way, so does a hero and a chariot. Counts as a large unit, not a chariot unit. And I was able to, goad these opposing chariots into the mud, and look at their speed. Look at their speed just disintegrate. I'm at this stage, I'm like, alright, well now I'm going to attack. I'm going to come in here and turn this all around. Unfortunately for me, he's actually quite wise and decides, well, instead of just, letting you single out my chariots, I'm going to attack you with multiple chariots. I'm going to shoot, use all of my ammo. These guys definitely just get stuck up here. And the other thing I was going to test out was the heavy spearmen. I'm thinking heavy spearmen, armored giant spearmen. These are units that can do well, but specifically I wanted to see how these units would do in various terrain types. Now this is really important. Centaur champions and Savage Centaur warriors are all a heavy cavalry option here, and they just start taking way too much damage for my liking. Even with the 2 chariots here, one of them taking more than 50% damage, I'm just saying, you know what? No, this doesn't work out for me. Here, let me try and get my spears out to support this, and maybe we can do something. But ultimately, this is just infantry out in the open. And what's going to happen to these 3 guards of Troy is exactly like you would expect when the rest of the cavalry shows up. These 3 units of infantry, heavy or not, are going to get destroyed.
Your warriors are losing heart.
And it doesn't take long either. These are 800 funds units. Now this one I did find very much more to my liking, which was I had armored giant spearmen up against a single Trojan chariot in the trees, rear attacked by this. Now this is obviously a point disparity, but this isn't. Here I have champions of Troy getting set up, and because I was talking to him and we were communicating through the whole process, I told him, don't attack the champions of Troy yet. Give me a chance to brace their line and actually set up. And because we were hoping to find ways to deal with the Chariot Spam, look at this. The Minotaur, by the way, doesn't take very much damage. He is large. He is large, so those chariots do get a bonus to damage against him. Now, okay, here we go. So my champions of Troy are ready, so he goes ahead and he attacks. This is into the trees, and they just kind of putter out and stop. Champions of Troy are an expensive heavy infantry unit, 1,500 funds at least to get these guys in here, but quickly getting the job done against these heavy Trojan chariots and not taking a lot of damage themselves. Cavalry just out in the open against Trojan noble chariots, an archer chariot just really torn apart. Cavalry did not perform well at all, regardless of terrain type. A armored giant spearman actually did get routed out of this fight, and Minotaur is still doing well with its health. winded. And I'm going to get an opportunity here. I actually am trying to go ahead and bring it over here to rear charge this, because I think with their morale the way it is, that a good... Oh, and I used it right there, actually. I used the Minotaur's shout to just break what was left out here. The hero I brought is the Defender Companion, because he has the healing abilities. All that's left now are Paris and a couple of Trojan Noble Chariots. I have my Armored Giant Spearmen regrouped, and I decided just to stick them right in the middle of the mud, because I still think that mud is going to be a good place for me to fight. Minotaur, again, not taking a lot of damage, but dishing out plenty. I'm just going to let this fast forward, because really, this was lesson 1 in a string of like 6 battles that Death and I had. And in these 6 battles, like, we learned some very important things. Minotaur did just fine. You could probably assume that the Cyclops will do just fine as well. But let's keep going through these. So the kills are not going to be highly indicative of performance, because there's only 118 units total or something like that in this entire army. Everybody's on a chariot. So he's going to have a lot more kills than I am. Okay, so he had 164 units. Killed 104 of them. And where did that performance come from? Well, it came from the Minotaur with 15 kills, gained plenty of XP. You can see the Savage Centaur Warriors putting up nothing. The Centaur Champions, nothing. Champions of Troy did phenomenal. 29 kills, 26 kills. The Companion himself even got 8 kills, but heavily hurt himself. So... So a victory, yes, but that wasn't the point of that battle. That point of that battle was to really start dipping our toes into the pool of terrain. I'm going to skip that one. Let's go into Chariot Spam Battle 3. So I want to show you where we were able to learn things. So here is another Chariot Spam roster. Hector of Troy, Hector in a chariot. And I'm playing as Sparta. With again, this is going to be the Defender Companion hero. He is on foot. This is an all Sparta infantry army. All spears. Nothing but spears. Yeah, it's not 100% the kind of army you want to bring into a battle, right? Like, there's some obvious pitfalls here. I don't have any ranged units. Other than like the javelins that happen to be on my light spear runners. I brought the three light spear runners. That's the max you can have of them. 3 shielded spearmen, medium weight class, shield and spear infantry. 4 regular spearmen, medium weight class, shield and spear infantry, but with a poor attack. Everybody has bonus versus large. But the real meat and potatoes of this army is actually in the Spartan armored chargers. 2-handed spear infantry. Speed of 35, heavy armor, experts in flanking, charger. These guys are... I even put 1 XP chevron on each one, and it gave me a perfect spend. Now, we're dealing with archer chariots. Nothing but archer chariots this time. So seeing that he has bows, I'm just going to stay in the trees. The second his archer chariots cross into the forest, their speed dips to 29. My speed is unhindered at 37, so I can catch all of these now. Also, the trees are going to block arrows. I am taking damage from these arrows, but as you can see, he has his chariots on skirmish. They start trying to fall back, and I'm immediately going to start getting some damage in. Hector, of course, runs right over some of my guys. I'm bringing everybody over into these trees now that I see that everybody else is over here. There's a long line of trees here, so these chariots aren't getting through. My shielded spearmen are going to attack here. I get Hector completely surrounded, and I just dogpile on him. I'm inside the tree line. He can shoot as much as he wants. I have shields. I have trees. I'm going to be negating a lot of the damage. I said this the other day in one of my videos that archer chariots are chariots first and archers second. However, when you bring this many, they can also be archers. There's just so much volume of fire that they can produce. So as you saw, I am losing a unit here. He just got really beat up by Hector. I did use the healing ability from my hero, and it is doing an okay job. Right now, everybody's just trying to put in as much damage as they can on Hector, and I'm keeping other spear units available and around, and I'm trying to see if I just can't get my opponent to pull deeper into the trees, and then I cycle back in and attack again. The light spear runners are throwing Pila, they're throwing javelins, and they're landing, but not dealing a ton of damage. What is dealing a ton of damage is the fact that I can chase them and catch them. Hector here's morale is about to break. Broken. Just from being so heavily surrounded and outnumbered. As you can see, as I learn what his range is, I'm just going to go ahead and fall back a little bit further, I haven't even activated my armored chargers yet. He has gotten 2 chariots through over here. He is shooting up these guys, so all of this force is going to get pulled back. I'm going to put this in a little bit faster speed for you. As Hector starts to run away, I let him because I'd rather stay in the trees. And at this point, I'm just sitting here going, you know what? I can hang back. I am taking that unit. This unit of spearmen right here, the shielded spearmen, did get really hurt by rear fire from the arrows because I had to turn my back to fall back. As you can see, right away, all of these forces, they start pulling back into the trees again. So what do? Well, I single one out and I chase it. Now this is gutsy. Light spear runners, these are light infantry at this stage, and this chariot has all of its abilities, but it's already been beat up a little bit, and I say, you know what? I don't want to just sit here and get these guys overexposed and shot at. This armored charger, speed of 35, chasing down a speed 29 archer chariot. Guess what? The armored charger is going to win. There we go. And I'm just able to keep pushing, dealing as much damage as I can as I do. And now that my guys are out in the open, turn right back around, collapse back in on the chariots that I already still have captured. Hector came back and is trying to get back into these throwdowns. There he is right here. Yeah, no problem, my men say, as I fall back yet again. I'm not leaving the trees, and I'm going to force these Trojan chariots to come in and get me. It's push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. He's got to come into the trees to find me, to shoot me, and as he every time he does, I'm able to come out, or I'm able to push forward. Pincer maneuvers. He tries to wrap around my flank here, and I just start moving in with more spears, more spears. Still have more javelins to expend over here, and since he's in the trees, I'm coming to get you. Alright, I'm going to bring the unit cards back up. So I have another Asclepius heal here that just wrapped up. And look at this blob. It's so tasty. I'm almost wishing I brought a Cyclops. And as you can see, I am still taking casualties. I'm still getting routed. But if you look at the morale bars, that's the white bar on all of these archer chariots, they're starting to dip and collapse completely. And I won just on sheer numbers and terrain. The terrain won that battle. And here are the numbers, okay? So I only put 1 XP chevron on the armored chargers. 3 of them picked up an extra chevron. This one even made 15 kills on chariots on its own. So 353 chariots hit the battlefield this time. The spearmen and armored and shielded spearmen, so-so. But after those last couple of battles, the lesson the way I'm trying to evolve my knowledge here is I'm going, okay, now how can I defeat chariots but be cost effective? Because these armored chargers, they're expensive. This was a 1,200 cost unit after I upgraded it, 1,275 I think. The spearmen are cheap. They were only like 450, 540, something like that. The shielded spearmen, 700. The light spear runners are either 800 or 900, and these archer chariots, I believe, are an 800 cost chariot. So it's again, we're trying to narrow the gap here. We're trying to find that cost effective way to win. I only took 200 casualties, and the real winner there wasn't the fact that I had spears. It was the fact that I had trees. And that's what we were learning in each of these battles as we went further and further along. The terrain matters. The terrain really matters. So here's a battle. This is the Mudlands. This is the same army, Hector of Troy and his chariot units. By the way, if you didn't know this, when you're setting up in your deployment, if you hover up here, I'm sorry, I said 300. It's 118 was the enemy troop count. If you see that number, if you see something under 300, you can be you could very easily assume that the enemy force is nothing but chariots. So he decided he's going to deploy directly into the mud. He'll deploy in the mud and then make a beeline over here just so he can get over across the mud flats as quickly as possible. Sorry to say that doesn't work out for him. I'm going to set this up to slow motion. Well, actually, you know what? It doesn't even need to be slow motion. I'm going to put this in regular speed here. And I'm going to read to you guys some statistics and try to put it up on the screen somewhere where you can read it. Mud stats. This is what the mud does to a unit. A heavy infantry unit loses 30% speed and 30% charge speed. Medium infantry unit loses 20% speed and charge speed. Light infantry unit loses 10% speed and charge speed. Large units, these would be giants, cyclops, minotaurs, and interestingly enough, a hero on a chariot get minus 25% melee defense and minus 40% speed. A chariot in the mud, not a hero on a chariot, specifically chariots, the units, get minus 70% speed and minus 75% melee defense. Okay, so as you can see, his plan to get all of his archer chariots across the mud and over here was completely eviscerated by the fact that his speed has been dropped all the way to 29 because of minus 70% missile speed. The melee defense on each of these chariots is 6. Hector was able to get across because his speed was only reduced 40% when he was crossing the mud because he counts as a large unit. So once he got across and then into the trees, I just sent a spear-fighting Myrmidon and an armored giant spearman out here, and that's it. That's all I sent. And that was fire and forget. I didn't have to worry about Hector for the rest of the match. So as you might have guessed, I'm playing as Achilles with Phthia. I brought light swordsmen, 5 units, because I really am trying to find a way to make cost-effective chariot killing possible. 2 units of spear-fighting Myrmidons, 2 units of armored giant spearmen, because they're really good at facing down chariots, especially with their javelins, and a unit of giant champions, because that's something I learned from my live stream the other day. Giant champions they're hoss. And this is just a really unique and interesting unit, and I wanted to give it a shot. These are heavy javelin throwers. It says their weight class is heavy, but apparently when I was selecting them and hovering over the mud to look at the tooltip, they count as a medium infantry for the purposes of mud. So the only thing that's really affecting them is that they're losing 20% speed instead of 30% speed. And then I brought Achilles on foot because you always should bring Achilles on foot. So I managed to get 5 archer chariots stuck here by this one light swordsman. And I'm just kind of pushing forward, trying to split them in half with my maneuvers here. As you can see, these guys break, but it's still just enough. And look at the damage they've managed to cause. Just enough for me to get my giant champions, my armored giant spearmen over here. I start moving laterally with these light swordsmen and Achilles. And my javelins, I don't even really need to activate them. Look at this. This is the fight that most interests me, okay? This is 3 light swords versus 3 archer chariots. Archer chariots should eat light swordsmen for lunch, for breakfast, for dinner, for elevensies. Honestly, this should not go well. But because the melee defense on these archer chariots is now a 1, it's dipped even further because of fatigue or wavering. Whatever it is, they just get eviscerated by my 400 cost light swordsmen with their dinky little 40% missile block chance shields. And that's a shattered chariot. When I saw that chariot shatter, I was elated. I was elated by the performance because I did not send that much points cost in. The Giants, no surprise here, destroyed those chariots. Without any melee defense, they just get walloped. Here, I'll let you watch these giant champions just obliterate these chariots as they try to escape. And then here come the javelins from the...
Victory
oh,
is close enough to taste.
it was just so tasty. So tasty. And then out in the distance, Hector just completely outperformed. And these chariots, they're trying to get away. There's nothing they can do. The light infantry pretty much has no impact. Oh, here's the giant champions. Those are just the giant spearmen back over there. The spear fighting myrmidons are here, just only at a 20% speed penalty. The light swords are here with only a 10% speed penalty. And these chariots are just putzing around. They're probably shattered, actually. Yeah, they're shattered and not coming back. I'm falling back at this point, and so is my opponent, because we were so shocked by these results, and we're learning the mud statistics. We're hovering over the mud, and we're looking at the tooltip during the battle, and just jaw dropped looking at the information. And so that is actually the end of this battle. It was really the biggest. That was the. I remember saying to Death specifically in that battle, I went, "Holy cow! This is the performance, more so than the other battles. This is the performance where I really think we've seen true value performance out of fighting the Chariot Spam." And we wanted to load that map up again and just look at like I'm showing you this fight because we loaded up the map again because we wanted to look at the mud and see what the statistics were for each type of unit over top of the mud. So I just built this army just literally so I could have, like, you know, one of every unit type and just explore to see what the mud statistics are. That way I could have the knowledge to give you. And he brought the Chariot Spam with Paris, and then I realized he was coming to fight me, and I was like, oh, we're actually going to fight this. Oh, okay, sure. So I used what I had learned. I put my 2 units of chariots, I put them in the open. I take my heavy infantry, and I start moving them over to the trees. And then my regular, my medium and light infantry and Paris I keep over here. And it's mostly skirmishers, too. And Boulder. Crunch. That was 2 chariots, I believe, and just that 1 boulder. He's at 6 kills. The Cyclops actually performs fantastically with this battle, with this performance. And as you can see, like, my chariots kind of get beat up, his chariots also kind of get beat up. I mean, I brought an archer chariot and a heavy Trojan chariot. We're both playing Paris here. But I'm able to, like, hold down this center. There goes another boulder. Crunch. You want to see how many kills that was? He's now up to 15. So that was 3 more chariots that he just broke with that boulder. Because he has to blob his chariots up. He's learned. He's like, I can't put my chariots in the mud. I can't put my chariots in the trees. So he's just going to try to eliminate my chariots. And I'm going to take advantage with my ranged units and try shooting into this. I'm like looking at this blob going, oh god, please, Cyclops boulder. Oh please, oh please, oh please, Cyclops boulder. Because I'm thinking I can get a ton of chariot kills. Here comes my next boulder. Crunch. He's now up to 18 kills. So that one only caught one chariot, unfortunately. And he tries to think, he's like, okay, well, I've got his forces split up. I've got 2 champions of Troy and renowned Phrygian axemen. I'm just going, okay, let's fight it. Let's fight it. Let's do it. We're in the trees. And look at the archer chariot just melt. They just melt over here.
Is under attack.
The benefit of the trees, the benefit of the armor piercing, and I'm just kind of moving my my ranged units here now. This chariot just regroups, happened to be in the mud, so it's a bad position for it. But I'm sitting here going, okay, well, I'm gonna keep throwing boulders. This will be an epic throw if I can get it to land. Tree. I start shooting at Paris because he's out here in the open, and I'm kind of protected in the mud. He's realizing my heavy infantry here is winning this fight, so he's trying to come out of this and maybe try to engage me over here. And
victory
morale just shatters, completely shatters. It was a very quick and interesting fight. The reason why I thought that was interesting, I didn't try to build a good army. That wasn't even a balanced army build. That was just I'm going to take one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these. That was not me trying hard. That was just the terrain. It was after this battle that I realized, oh, you can take any army you want against the Chariot Spam. Just think about where you're putting your troops. Use that information I gave you about the mud. Use the information about how the trees slow down these chariots. How the trees protect you from archer rounds. Use the information that we have given you. And Chariot Spam is a joke. Look at my damage. Where was the damage? On my chariots. Paris was on a chariot. Heavy Trojan chariot, archer chariot. Those were the units that got damaged. Folks, I hope you found this very educational. I want you to know that the Chariot Spam might be the meta right now, but that is why you have to use the terrain to your advantage. He who masters the field of battle masters the battle. Okay? This is and I have to tell you, I love this. I love seeing this in Total War. Terrain has always mattered in warfare historically, and in Total War games, terrain is pretty much only really boiled down to choke points. Yes, there's water. Yes, there's trees. You know, they have different effects in previous Total War titles, but this is the first time where you really see the impact certain terrain types have against your performance. Those chariots are nothing once they get stuck in the mud. Those chariots are nothing once they get caught in the trees. And you don't even need to build an anti-chariot army for it. You absolutely should have chariot counter units in your army. Heavy spearmen, giants, cyclops, maybe even the Minotaur. I didn't really get to test that out effectively to know for sure whether the Cyclops can do it. But if you don't have all of the tools you need to do anti-chariot work, you can always just goad them into chasing you into the mud or fighting you in the trees. And if they won't fight you there, don't go out to fight them. Force them to come to you. Bring some ranged units. Outrange your opponent's chariots. If you have the ranged advantage, you could probably get them to come after you. Probably. Can't promise it, but probably. 200 light spear chargers in the mud eviscerate chariots. When in the open field, those chariots would have a field day with them. All right, I've been rambling on long enough. Folks, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in my future content. I hope you find this useful. Ta-ta, I love you all. See you in the next video. Hey there, future Jarl of the Appian Way here. Just coming to you with a quick message. The last few days have been really important to my channel. I'd like to thank you all for coming out and giving me views. Penthesilea here again is wanting to show you her awesome nope dance after meeting Hector on a chariot. The moonwalking war horns. I wanted to show you this before I forgot. I was trying to get my opponent to look at this, and he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, I wanted to show you that just for the laughs, but also to say that in the last week, I've gotten 1,000 plus views from you all on my Troy multiplayer content, and I'm very grateful and thankful for that. So I'm going to ask, and I normally don't, please consider subscribing, please consider liking the video. If you found this information useful and good for you, absolutely please like it. Comment if you have any feedback for me on how to improve the content that I bring you. And I also want to tell you what you can expect to see on my channel in the coming few days. I have a very eclectic range of games that I play. Total War is not the only thing that I do. I also have a lot of fun with arcade flight games and Star Wars titles and retro games. Just whatever gets a rise out of me, you can expect to see it on my channel. This week in particular, you can expect to see some Project Wingman, because that game just came out today. You can also expect to see... every Thursday, I play throwback Total War titles. I've been working on a Tokugawa campaign in Shogun 2, main campaign, not one of the DLCs, and that's coming. I feel like that campaign's going to be wrapping up soon, but I have every intention of continuing my tradition of throwback Thursday Total War videos, and you can also expect to see more Troy multiplayer. So as long as you guys keep watching it, I'm going to keep putting it out there for you. Yeah, guys, thank you again.
Of course.
And please consider subscribing and maybe watch something else that I put out for you, okay? Love you all. Ta-ta.